Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And as we all know, once again, I do not do the program by myself, but Mike, well, he is on his way working and fighting traffic in order to be able to make it here to us, to be able to participate in the program today. I'm hoping that he makes it, but I'll be honest, I am not going to hold my breath because, after all, today is hump day.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right, folks. Today is hump day. Now, hump day is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend. Sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as we always like to say, the fun is all in the trying. And I don't know if Mike is beginning his weekend today or if just, the middle of the week is just getting to him a little bit. He's just handling that business. So, in any case, we welcome you to the program. Thank you so much for tuning in. You could be a lot of places, but you're here. So we appreciate you being here. Want to remind you that because it's just us, you know what? I'm always looking for the comments. I'm always looking for the feedback. If you're watching us live at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, if you're watching us on Rumble, if you're watching us on YouTube, or you're watching us on Facebook or Twitter, we're taking your comments and we're responding to your comments. So go ahead, give us a shout out, tell us what's up, tell us where you're watching us from. And then if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to go ahead. And if I can catch them, and I think they're interesting, I'll go ahead and I'll give you all a shout out and let folks know what's up. Speaking of what's up, obviously, before we do anything, you know what we got to do. We got to pay them bills. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start off with Hitman Industries. Now, if you're looking for a rifle or a pistol length barrel, trust me, they have what you need. If you are a first responder and you've never purchased from them before, well, guess what? You are eligible for a discount. All you got to do is go to hitmanindustries.net. They have all the pistols and pistol and rifle barrels that you will need. Also, by the way, they got Glock barrels, so check those out as well. Once again, hitmanindustries.net. Then you've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservative Republicans at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Check them out at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA. And then we've got Hog Holsters, HAWG Holsters, helping Americans wear guns. Whatever your setup, whatever firearm you have, whatever optical you may have on it, whatever flashlight you may have on it, trust me, they can hook you up inside the waistband, outside the waistband. You're looking just pure tactical, or you're looking for concealed carry. Whatever you're looking for, trust me, they got it. Just go to hogholsters.com. Make sure you use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, just like it is right up there, and get a discount on your hog holster today. And then we've got uscombatgear.com. They have all things tactical but the guns. I'm talking boots, hats, sunglasses, eyeglasses, safety glasses. They've got backpacks. Trust me, they got it all. All you got to do is go there. They have great prices. They have fast shipping. And it's veteran owned and operated. Trust me, you'll like them. Just go to uscombatgear.com. All right, our top story today is yet another California anti-gun law has been shot down by a judge. Now, let's see which ones. So we've already had the magazine ban. The standard capacity magazine ban has already been shot down by a California judge. We've had advertising or limits on advertising, in California for firearms shot down by a federal judge. We've had the quote unquote assault weapons ban, which basically is a ban on standard, basically on center fire, semi-automatic center fire rifles with collapsible stocks or with adjustable stocks or forward pistol grip. All basically rifles that look scary in the state of California have also been banned. And now we have the 1 in 30 law. That's right. In the state of California, for those of you outside the state of California, you don't know this. In the state of California, they have actually made it so that you are not able to purchase more than one firearm in a 30-day period. That's right. I know, crazy, huh? So if you're, for example, trying to buy a collection, if you're, for example, trying to buy multiple, maybe you want to buy a shotgun and a handgun at the same time, that way you can deal with just one background check. You can deal with just one firearm safety fee. Just have to take the test once, just have to go to the store once. Maybe you live pretty far from where the gun store is, right? Or maybe you're meeting someone there, you're doing a private party transfer, or maybe you are transferring your firearms to somebody because you want to get them out of your name. Maybe you've lost the right to own your. Well, guess what? They can only take one of those firearms in a 30-day period. That is what is so crazy, once again, in the state of California. Well, that has been shot down. Once again, this was not by our good friend, Mr. Saint Benitez. And I only point that out, not because I do not consider him Saint Benitez, but because I just want people to know that there are other judges out there who are fighting and standing in the Ninth Circuit, by the way, who are standing up and fighting for our right to keep and bear arms. All right, it says here, a California law barring the purchase of more than one gun in a 30-day period was struck down Monday by a federal judge who said it failed a test for state laws laid out in the 2022 U.S. Supreme Court ruling on gun rights. U.S. District Judge William Hayes sided with a group of California residents, gun retailers, and gun rights nonprofits in finding that the one gun a month law did not fit within the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. The law remains in place for now because the judge stayed his ruling for 30 days to give the state time to appeal. The ruling is the latest to deem a state gun law unconstitutional in the wake of the High Court's landmark decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin, which dramatically expanded gun rights. It didn't radically expand them. It clarified them to mean that you get the right to own a gun outside the house, to possess a gun outside of your home, number one. Number two, it also said you don't get to suppress people's rights by creating some arbitrary standard by which laws should be measured. Anyway, it says here, Bill Sack, you guys might know Bill Sack. I've had him on the program before. Bill Sack, the director of legal operations for the Second Amendment Foundation, that would be SAF, one of the groups challenging the law, told Reuters that the California law was in clear violation of the Second Amendment. Quote, inherent to the right to keep and bear arms is the right to acquire them, Sack said. A spokesperson from the California Attorney General's office, which defended the law, said it was reviewing the ruling. The law, which was updated to include restrictions in 2021 and in 2024, is meant to cut down on straw purchases of guns in which one person buys a gun for another person who may be legally barred from being able to purchase a firearm. Now, let's clarify that. So, and it comes back to this, and this is the real thing. They believe that because someone might abuse their rights, that we should violate the rights of all people. That's what it really comes down to. And that's at least in their ideas when it comes to firearms. So, for example, they believe that if someone were to, vote more than once, right? That would be like saying, well, we're going to restrict anyone's ability to be able to vote because, well, someone might violate the law, right? Someone might abuse their right. Or actually, that's a bad example. I just throw out there, that's a bad example. They might say that, well, here's a good one. If you write one letter to your congressman or to your state legislator, you aren't allowed to write any more letters. You aren't allowed to send any more emails to them because, well, you might abuse that right? You may flood them with emails every day that they're going to have to register and record and read. God forbid they should ever read it. But you might abuse that right, so therefore we're going to take the rights away from all people. we're going, because someone might yell fire in a crowded theater, we're now going to put duct tape on everyone's mouth before they walk into the theater. That's what they want to do here. That's what they wanted to do here. And you already heard just a few of the examples of the reason why you may want someone to be able to do this. For example, let's say something happened and you went in on a 5150, right? And that's basically, you go in on a temporary 72-hour hold in the state of California. Well, when you come out, you've lost your right to own or possess firearms. You now need to give those firearms to possession of someone else, right? If you have 7 firearms, do you want to have to find 7 different people that you can give the guns to? Do you? Because that's what you're going to have to do in the state of California. You can't just loan a gun. You can't just give them the gun to hold. You're not allowed to do that. So what you would be able to do, though, is to be able to say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer all, 10 of my firearms, 15 of my firearms until I address the 5150, right? Until I either get that so that I can get my gun rights back, right? Nope, sorry, can't do anything. What happens if someone passes away and you inherit their collection of firearms? Sorry, you're not allowed to now take possession of those firearms that you inherited because, well, you only get 1 gun a month. So you're telling me that if they own 30 guns, you should wait around 3 years before you can take possession of all of the firearms that you inherited from that individual? That's what they're saying. That's how dumb some of this stuff is. So anyway, this is just another example of a law that made absolutely no sense that is now been overturned. That is now subject to the Constitution and common sense. So that's a good one in the state of California. And I know y'all are saying to yourselves, you're saying, look, why do I care about California? Because trust me, whatever state you are in, unless you are in a deep red state, even if you're in a deep red state, these laws are being proposed where you live. How do I know? Because Californians who have left California because they can no longer live the American dream here, they've moved to your state, and not all of them are pro-Second Amendment. Not all of them are conservative, right? They may have left the state of California, but many of them have brought their stinking thinking with them. And when they get there, they're electing the same sorts of nimrods who they elected here in the state of California. And they are proposing the same sorts of laws. So now what we have is a federal judge who is saying, nope, that's not constitutional. That's going to go to the Ninth Circuit. You know what the Ninth Circuit's going to do? They're going to say, nope, it's not constitutional. And then it's going to be the law of the land because they probably won't take it to the Supreme Court because they know that the Supreme Court is going to rule that it's not constitutional. But it will set precedent in other jurisdictions, in other districts. It'll set it'll set precedent that will then make it so that, now we're going to know. So once again, we're going to know. And that's one of the things, and by the way, I'll just say this once again, for those of you hating on Donald Trump because you don't think he was pro-Second Amendment enough, once again, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to go back to this one more time. These justices are probably the most pro-Second Amendment thing that any president has ever done, period. The taking back of the Supreme Court has been the most pro-Second Amendment thing that has happened here in these United States. And I will forever stand up and say, yeah, there you go. Anyway, so that's a good ruling. Once again, positive thing for the state of California, positive thing for the nation. Can't wait to see which domino will fall next. And trust me, the dominoes are falling because groups like SAF, groups like the Firearms Policy Coalition, Gun Owners of America, NAGR are suing up. They are suing right and left. And they are, not only are they suing, but they're refiling cases that have been on hold in order to get hearings so that they can get rulings like this. Because A lot of these cases have been ruled, but they've been ruled improperly. And one of the directions under Bruin was take a look at some of your other decisions. Take a look at some of the other cases. And in the jurisdictions where they've decided they aren't going to bother to take a look, they're kind of being forced to go back and take a look. So yeah, this is a good thing, folks. This is a very good thing. All right, next we have... Okay, a California gap became the go-to spot for the article said for human traffickers, but we're talking about illegals, people who are coming into the country illegally. Now, I want to just kind of lay this whole thing out for you because this is something that is definitely worth noting. What we're dealing with here is you saw what's happened in Texas, where they basically said, we are now going to enforce our border, even if the federal government isn't. Even though the federal court said that, well, you really don't get to, you can't keep the federal government from coming in and taking down the razor wire, right? What they didn't say was, well, you can't put it back up. So now you've got Texas, which was the main place that people were coming in. They're enforcing their border. New Mexico, to the credit of their Democrat governor, to a degree has been enforcing their border. Arizona was enforcing its border. They've since gotten pretty lax under Governor Hobbs as they have removed barriers and things like that were being used to enforce their border. But what the one place that has still remained and kept their border open has been, well, it's been California's border, right down there near San Diego. And so there's an article over in the Washington Free Beacon, and it says Biden's broken border, how one California gap became a go-to spot for smugglers. So this is going to tell you a little bit about how this all went down. So it says California on a sunny Thursday afternoon in February, a family of four in designer brand clothes wait for a ride from the California border near Jacumba Hot Springs, a tiny desert town 70 miles east of San Diego. They had just climbed through a man-sized wire hole at San Judas Break, where California's border wall meets a hill of boulders. The husband pushed the baby on a stroller. The wife, well coiffed and carrying a Michael Kors purse, dragged a roller suitcase, as did the teenage son in pristine white platform tennis shoes and a Tommy Hilfiger sweatsuit. They had apparently been delivered by their smugglers, or as one sympathetic advocate called them, quote, travel agents, to the Gap. Soon, a Border Patrol agent arrived with a van, loaded up their luggage, and helped them with their seatbelts, and drove them to a nearby station. From there, the family would be shuttled to San Diego, courtesy of the U.S. government. The family, which would not agree to use a translator app to speak with the Washington Free Beacon, was among the few to breach at a particular gap over the past few weeks, according to interviews with border agents. As recently as last month, the barbed wire hole at the end of the massive wall built by two former presidents was a favorite drop-off spot for human smugglers. It became a viral media embarrassment for President Joe Biden thanks to X and a CBS 60 Minutes show as hundreds of Chinese men streamed through. Now it's blocked by Mexican military. While fixing the gap seems like it would be easy, federal border agents told the Free Beacon U.S. Marshals aren't allowed to do anything about it due to Biden's order to stop all border wall construction. What they can do is supply porta potties and dumpsters for immigrants who have crossed over illegally, even if the heaps of trash indicate that not everyone uses the dumpsters. So now the point once again is they made a decision that there's no more border wall. There's not going to be any border wall construction. You can't even repair holes in the border wall. What you need to do is you need to facilitate and make it easier for people to come into the country. In fact, what's interesting about this, once again, is they got a ride to the border by their travel. And it was a travel agent. Let's just be real. These aren't even really human smugglers. Well, they are human smugglers, but they're acting as travel agents. So they're unofficial travel agents bringing people to our southern border, telling them all you got to do is go across, and as soon as you get across, well, then you can go ahead and the travel agents on the other side, otherwise known as border patrol agents, they will pick you up and they will take you to where you can be processed, and then you will be sent anywhere in these United States that you want to go. That is what we are dealing with at our southern border. This is the combination of California ain't going to do nothing. The federal government ain't going to do nothing. Nobody's going to do anything except make it easier for you to come on through. And then we're going to wonder. And by the way, just so you know, as they noted, these folks did not appear to be. Now, who knows? Maybe they spent all their money on looking nice for when they came across the border. But let's just be real. When they get here, what do you think the chances are they're going to wind up in public schools, on public assistance? Because quite frankly, the government has told them you can't. They don't really care whether or not they actually qualify, because nowadays, in order to qualify, all you really need to be able to do is fill out the paperwork. And I'm pretty sure they can fill out the paperwork. Anyway, that's where we are right now. That's what we're facing right now. Once again, here in the great state of California, it bites. It really does. And by the way, this is a state that is facing a $73 billion and growing state deficit. But, we got money to take care of the entire world. Not our own people. Oh, did I happen to mention that we lead the nation in homelessness? Yeah, a huge percentage. We have the largest percentage of the homeless population of any state in the nation. But, hey, what's a few more, people crossing our southern border illegally? Doesn't really matter. Anyway, moving right along. Okay, you might remember the investigator who looked into Joe Biden and looked into that looked into his possession, him being in possession of classified documents. Now, these were not classified documents from when he was president. Some of these were classified documents from when he was vice president, which means he did not have the ability to declassify them, so he couldn't claim that. Some of the documents went as far back as from when he was in the Senate. So he didn't even have the right. None of them should have been taken out of the SCIF, but he definitely did not have the right or the ability to take the documents out of the SCIF that were when he was a senator. But nonetheless, there he was. His name was Robert Hur. It was the guy who was questioned. So he was questioned yesterday before a House committee. And really it was funny because what Democrats really wanted to do was they really wanted to make it sound like, well, this is all partisan. And it was funny because they wanted to make it sound like this guy was guilty of basically of just trying to push President Trump and help President Trump in his campaign. And obviously the Associated Press and most of the media is going right along with them. Here, the Washington AP is reporting, lawmakers turned a Tuesday hearing on President Joe Biden's handling of classified documents into a proxy battle between Democrat president and Republican frontrunner Donald Trump as a newly released transcript of Biden's testimony last fall showed that he repeatedly insisted he never meant to retain classified information after he left the vice presidency. Special counsel Robert Hur, testifying for more than 4 hours before the House Judiciary Committee, stood steadfastly by the assessment of his 45-page report that questioned Biden's age and mental competence, but recommended no criminal charges for the 81-year-old president, finding insufficient evidence to make a case that would stand up in court. Okay, let me just provide a quick clarification. Number one, it's not that he did not find enough evidence to say it would stand up in court. In fact, when Democrat lawmakers tried to say that he exonerated the president, Hur pushed back and pushed back pretty hard.
Charges are warranted in this matter.
Correct.
So this lengthy, expensive, and independent investigation resulted in a complete exoneration of President Joe Biden. For every document you discussed in your report, you found insufficient evidence that the president violated any laws about possession or retention of classified materials. The primary law that you analyzed for potential prosecution was part of the Espionage Act, 18 U.S.C. 793E, which criminalizes willful retention or disclosure of national defense information. Is that correct?
Congresswoman, that is one statute that we analyzed. I need to go back and make sure that I take note of a word that you used, exoneration. That is not a word that
I'm going to continue with my questions. I'm going to continue with my questions. I know that the term
I ultimately reached
I know that
whether
the term
sufficient evidence existed such that the likely outcome
you exonerated
would be a conviction.
I know
that
the term willful retention has a Mr. Hur, it's my time. Thank you. I know that the term willful retention has a particular legal meaning, and I want to make sure that that meaning is absolutely clear to the American people before we go any further. As you wrote in your report, to prove as a matter of law that the president, quote, willfully retained any documents, you would need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt two elements. First, that the president knowingly retained or disclosed national defense.
Oh, okay, so let's be clear. What she pointed out here was what he pointed out was, number one, he never exonerated him. What she left out that he put in the report, there was a reason why he pointed out that the president the reason why he decided not to was because it would be very difficult to prove it because the man is a doddering old fool. He's the man is losing his mental capacity. So he would be very, very sympathetic, right? In other words, they'd be able to say, well, I don't know. I don't remember how those documents got there. And they would believe him. Even though at one point, because keep in mind, there was one point where Eric Swalwell, they made it a point, Feng Feng's boyfriend, made it a point to point out, you said he had a photographic memory. Yes, that word. So he has a photographic memory. And the reason during the questioning that Hur asked him or noted that he seemed to have a photographic memory was trying to point out, well, wait a minute. How can you have a photographic memory about the house, but you can't remember how the documents got there? You can't remember whether or not you should have had you don't know how the documents got there. You can't remember, but you can remember every detail about your house. See, that's the thing, is he's pointing out that, yeah, I mean, you put Joe Biden in front of a jury, chances are they're going to sympathize with this old guy who he can't remember anything. And that's why they decided not to prosecute. And that's why he put that in the report. But Democrats weren't satisfied. They weren't satisfied at all. In fact, you had another congressman decided he was going to question Mr. Hur's integrity and basically say, oh, you're just trying to get a job.
Unlike in the Trump classified documents case, President Biden's counsel never falsely certified that there was no classified documents in the president's possession, correct?
The report does include some comparisons and contrasts between the facts alleged in the Trump case and the Biden case.
Despite clearing President Biden from being prosecuted, you used your report to trash and smear President Biden because he said in response to questions over a 5-hour interview that he didn't recall how he got the documents. And you knew that that would play into the Republicans' narrative that the president is unfit for office because he's senile. And the American people saw during the State of the Union address that that was not true. But yet that's what you tried to offer to them, and that's why they are having you here today. so that they can expand upon that narrative. And you knew that that's what was going to happen, didn't you?
Congressman, I reject the suggestions that you have just made. That is not what happened.
Let me move on.
Partisan
then,
politics
sir.
played no part whatsoever in my work.
You are a member of the Federalist Society, are you not?
And fair.
Are you a member of the Federalist Society?
I am not a member of the Federalist Society.
But you are a Republican, though, aren't you?
I am a registered Republican.
Yes, sir. And you're doing everything you can do to get President Trump reelected so that you can get appointed as a federal judge or perhaps to another position in the Department of Justice. Isn't that correct?
Congressman, I have no such aspirations, I can assure you, and I can tell you that partisan politics had no place whatsoever in my work. It had no place in the investigative steps that I took. It had no place in the decision that I made, and it had no place in a single word of my report.
Exactly. Now, first of all, let's be clear. To understand exactly who Hank Johnson is the guy who said that he was concerned about too many people being on, I think it was the island of Guam, because he was afraid the island would tip over. This is a U.S. congressman. Yeah. Some idiots voted for this guy, or just unintelligent people who decided to just vote for somebody with the D next to their name. Either way, I would still probably classify them as idiots if they're willing to vote for a guy who believes that. But now, once again, trying to make it political, they're like, well, you're just trying to get a job. No, he made it very, very clear why he made the decision that he made. And yet still, all they're trying to do is they're trying to shoot the messenger, right? They're just trying to shoot the messenger. Oh, by the way, to be very clear, a lawyer never certified that he did not have the documents. But let's be honest, Trump lied to his lawyers, told his lawyers he didn't have them when he did. So you can't necessarily use that. But here's what did happen. Biden said, oh, I don't have any documents. And then they searched and they found documents. Then they said, well, I don't have any documents over there. Then they went over there and searched and they found more documents. In fact, I believe it was 2 or 3 times they asked Biden, okay, you sure? You sure you got them all? You sure you've given them all to us? Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you got them all. Yeah, where's my tapioca? And guess what? They found more documents, and they weren't secure. They weren't even behind a locked door. They were in the car, in the garage next to his Corvette. In the garage next to his Corvette. And the point here, once again, is they have to prove that he willingly kept them. And how do you prove that he willingly kept them if, his brain is dead? And that's really, or his brain is numb. Dead, numb, one of the two. But that's pretty much what they're dealing with in that one. So, in any case, once again, Democrats, go out of their way to try and discredit someone, but, it doesn't work. And at least in my opinion, it didn't work. To people who don't want to believe Donald Trump or don't want to like Donald Trump or don't want to like Republicans, I'm sure you are quite happy with that. In fact, I kept seeing the whole Feng Feng's boyfriend. I kept seeing that one. He intelligently embarrassed him and showed the hypocrisy. I'm like, well, yeah, no. What he was doing was pointing out the hypocrisy of the fact that dude on one hand acted like he couldn't remember a thing. Then on the other hand, remembers every single detail of his home, of a particular home. Anyway. Oh, sorry. Photographic memory. Anyway. Moving right along. The House today passed a TikTok ban bill. That's right, a bill that will ban TikTok. And this was an interesting one, largely because Republicans, in this particular case, they parted from Trump on this decision. This, according to Politico, as you know, this is a measure, by the way, that would have. It didn't specifically name TikTok, but it restricted. It says, look, if you are a company that is owned by a foreign entity, specific foreign entities. If you reside in a country that is deemed to be a foreign enemy or country or something along those lines, and they specifically name the countries Iran, China, North Korea, and Russia. If you are significantly owned, and that means about 20%, if you are significantly owned by them, you are headquartered in their countries, if you are organized under the laws of that country, basically that they have showing that they have undue influence over you, and you have been caught transferring, or you transferring data to those companies or to those countries, I'm sorry, you're going to have to divest from that company. You're not allowed to operate in the United States. Now, what I just described to you specifically does describe TikTok. It's not only TikTok, but primarily TikTok. And basically, because as we all know, TikTok is basically being used two different ways. One, they're pulling in and they're being used to data mine information from American citizens or users of their app here in the United States. But it's also being used as a form of psychological warfare. There are things that they are allowing on on TikTok, that they don't allow on TikTok in China. There are things they are doing with their algorithms to push the worst of the worst sort of stuff that is damaging not just our children, but is manipulating our news. In fact, for young people, TikTok is the number one source of news. Now imagine this. Imagine the number one source of news being run, for example, during World War II, being run by Nazi Germany. Imagine that. Or during the Cold War, being run by Soviet Russia. We wouldn't allow that. But you have some people who believe that we should allow it here. Anyway, here's a rarity for the House Republicans. They just bucked Donald Trump. And by the way, this is an article that is written to try and create some sort of a riff between Republicans and Donald Trump. And, all I'll say is this. Donald Trump talks a good conservative game, but he is pretty much going out of his way to seize the middle ground right now in this, as Joe Biden is clearly the extremist in this election. Anyway, I move on. Weeks after walking away from a bipartisan border deal at the former president's behest, that is not why they did it. They did it because it was a bad deal. House Republican leaders on Wednesday rammed through a bill that would eventually ban TikTok over Trump's objections. Republicans who rejected Trump's warnings on Wednesday included some of his staunchest supporters. Representatives Elaine Stefanik, Lauren Boebert, and Brian Donalds were among the 197 Republicans who voted in favor of the bill, which easily cleared the two-thirds vote threshold. So too did Representative Jim Jordan, who was on Fox News minutes before the vote, waffling over whether to support it, as he wasn't the only Republican openly disregarding Trump. Once again, this is a piece that is written to try and get Donald Trump, mad at Republicans. But here's the deal. Some Republicans didn't support it because they didn't believe it went far enough. Because there are some things that it doesn't do. It doesn't deal with the underlying issue of the fact that you have American companies like Facebook, like Airbnb, that are actually that have actually been caught sharing information and data with the CCP. So it doesn't address them when they do it. So their concern is, well, we need to do it. We need to include all companies, not just ones that have descriptors that seem to primarily describe TikTok. But anyway, so that's one issue. The other issue is that it still doesn't deal with the issue of manipulation, in particular the harm that it's doing to children. Because guess what? TikTok's also not the only ones that are doing it. Facebook is doing it. Twitter was doing it. They're not doing it anymore, right? But Facebook is still manipulating information that is available to people. So is Google. Especially through their searches and through YouTube. And they wanted to see a bill that was more comprehensive that included those. Now, I get it, but my thing is, get what you can get first. Then we'll come back for the rest. And I think that's what a lot of Republicans are doing. And by the way, this is not just, they're blaming Republicans, but they're laying this at Republicans' feet. But this was a bill, there were only about 40 or 50 no votes, meaning that Democrats also overwhelmingly voted for it. But Politico doesn't say anything about that because, the truth Yeah, we can't be doing that. We can't be doing anything like, reporting the truth. Anyway, found that interesting. Thought you folks would like to hear that one. All right, we're now at it's time for our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. You know that. Well, I guess. Okay. I don't. Forgive me if you are Muslim and I don't know all the holidays. I believe that we are in Ramadan, or we are approaching Ramadan. But apparently, there was a resolution that declared that there would be no. There was a declaration against raping, hostages, raping people, and evidently, Hamas fighter really struggling with the resolution not to rape during Ramadan. That comes to you courtesy of the Babylon Bee. And by the way, this is also for those of you out there who did not who still question whether or not rape actually occurred during the atrocities that took place on October 7th. And now this last one I wanted to share with y'all because I know some of you are going to look and you're going to listen to this guy and you're going to see him and you're going to judge him. You're going to be like, oh, look at this dude who they're trying to trot out as a Trump supporter. See? But I want you to forget what the brother looks like. Forget what he sounds like and listen to what he says, because this man is dropping a truth bomb right here. This is real talk right here.
More than Trump had in him.
I'm a diehard Trump supporter. In my household, you got Martin Luther King, you got Jesus, and you got Donald Trump. Not in that particular order, but yeah, you got Martin Luther King, Jesus, and Donald Trump.
Why you got Donald Trump? Well, I'm a straight Democrat, but I'm for the best person.
Yes,
but
sir.
now, why you got Donald Trump?
Because I paid attention in school when I was a kid, and so I know the true history of both the Republican and Democratic Party. I know that they really didn't switch during the Nixon Southern strategy. That one became more clever than the other in dealing with black people. We the Democrats, we got away. We were the Republicans' friends. We was their friends, but we were the Democrats. When you look at the origins of the Ku Klux Klan, it originated out of the Democratic Party.
The Ku Klux Klan.
It did. Every civil rights legislation that ever has been passed in this country was authored, written, sponsored, and voted on 100% by Republicans and not Democrats. Every civil rights legislation.
Well, what you gonna do?
So let me finish about Trump. Right. So as a kid, I remember being 6, 7 years old and seeing Donald Trump receive an award with Muhammad Ali, Rosa Parks from the NAACP. Not only that, he engaged and interacted in our culture from the 80s throughout the 90s and even the 2000s, from rappers to Michael Jackson. So when we looked out into our culture, his face appeared many, many times. So for me to grow up now and then hear the media, because before the media started saying he was racist, I never heard a black leader say it. I never heard my grandmother say it.
Ooh, see, that's knowledge right there. That's dropping knowledge. Now, I will say this. The 100% thing, not exactly true. Most of it was authored by Republicans, and Republicans voted and supported it in greater numbers than did Democrats. In fact, they had to do it in spite of the Southern Bloc, which were Southern legislators who were fighting against the 1964 Civil Rights Movement, the Southern Bloc being Democrats. And before y'all go forward and say, oh, well, they were Republicans, or they all eventually became Republicans, J. William Fulbright, who was Bill Clinton's mentor, he died a Democrat. Al Gore Sr. died a Democrat. You name them, they once again, they died, or Robert Byrd, once again, died a Democrat. So anyway, so he was kicking down some knowledge right there that folks either don't want to admit, don't want to acknowledge, but it's the truth. Sorry to explain that to y'all, but it's the truth. Anyway, I very much appreciated what he had to say. I got to admit, when I first saw him, I was like, oh man, I ain't gonna admit I judged. I just tell you right now, I judged. But the more he talked, because I listened, the more he talked, the more I was like, okay, this man is dropping knowledge. Y'all ain't ready for that. Y'all y'all are ready for it. I don't know if other folks are ready for it. All right, folks. Well, hey, it's about that time for us to wrap it up. But before we do, we've got to give another quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start off with Hitman Industries. Just go to hitmanindustries.net. Get your rifle and pistol length barrels today. We got the California Republican Assembly. If you want to be a part of California's future today, Join CRA. Then we got Hog Holsters. Remember to go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. Get your hog holster today. And then finally, if you're looking for something tactical, you will find all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. All right, now we're done. But we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Throat Punch Thursday. Hope you all have a good time between now and then. Be safe. We'll see you mañana.